Hi guys, welcome to our final game of our Lutzen series. This is going to be the action at Eisdorf. So as the Battle of Lutzen is raging on, Marshal MacDonald's corps swings around the left of the battlefield in one of Napoleon's traditional outflanking manoeuvres. But in order to execute this, he has to get across the Flossgraben stream, which is this river you can see on the far side of the table. It's pretty much impassable to formed infantry and cavalry, certainly for artillery, and in the game it'll be effectively impassable for troops unless they're routing, and they will take extra casualties if they cross it. So the only option for MacDonald is to capture the village of Eisdorf and capture this river crossing, in which case he can then release a significant amount of French forces to assist Ney's corps, as hard-pressed as they are in the centre. So the game today is going to be pretty compressed. I was going to play this on a large table, but given that the whole battle will centre on the attack on this crossing, I decided we might as well go for compression, because that's where the battle is going to end up. So we're simply playing it on a 6x4 table. So there will be some pre-game artillery fire to do as we do the approach marches, and then we'll get stuck into the action. While we're playing this game, I was looking at the units that are fighting and noting one of the units on the Allied side is the Kiev Grenadiers. So I'm sure all of us are really impacted by the tragic events going on in Ukraine. Let's just give a moment's thought to everyone whose life is being lost, and how simple it is playing with our toy soldiers, and how grim the reality of war is. Anyway, after a moment of reflection, we'll carry on with the start of our game. Okay, so we got Dan playing today as the Allies. So let's just run through the Allies' deployment. So we have a large, heavy Prussian battery on the other side of the river, providing artillery support. Then the Russians have 2 brigades. We've got 1 brigade of 3 battalions here. These are all second-rate troops, and they're supported by a couple of Jaeger battalions that are also second-rate troops. Then we have a 2nd brigade with 2 Jaeger battalions in the village, who count as line troops, and 3 more line battalions, again supporting the artillery battery on this flank, and again they're all of regular grades. So we've got 5 regular battalions and 5 second-rate battalions for the Russians. The Russians also have some grenadiers in reserve. For the French over here, we've got 6 battalions attacking. Half of these are conscripts and half of them are second-rate. And then over on this flank, we have another 6 battalions attacking. These are all second-rate. The French do have another brigade in reserve, a small brigade, 2 battalions of Italians and 1 of Swiss. The Swiss are veterans, but all others are second-rate for the French. Okay, so we've done our approach marches and taken pretty heavy artillery fire from Dan, and especially on this flank where we've had both the Prussian and Russian batteries opening up on the advancing French columns. And this particular battalion here was the one that took most of the fire, being in the front line, and they've taken already 7 casualties, so they're going to be in a pretty poor state. Over on this flank, one of the French battalions has taken 3 casualties, as it was only facing 1 battalion. For the return fire from the French, which has continued, they mainly did counter-battery fire, was not particularly effective. They've only caused 1 casualty on this artillery battery, and over here, how many casualties on this one, Dan?
1 on the artillery and 2 on the unit behind.
1 on the artillery and 2 from bounce-through fire on the infantry battalions behind. So we've done the first 4 turns. Let's see what happens as we move into the first on-table turn, which will be turn 5. We'll roll for ADCs. Both of us have got access to 3 brigades, and we get a bonus dice for our general. Another terrible roll for the French. I've been doing pretty badly all the way through. I've only got 2 ADCs,
I've got 1.
and Dan's only got 1. So again, not a lot of orders. Let's deploy those orders, roll for activation, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, so the French have rolled an 11, so French get to activate first. We'll see if there are any charges. I don't think there'll be any charges by the Prussians. Dan, doesn't feel like you're going to be doing any charges this turn, does it? No. So we'll see whether we might charge. We might charge with one of these French battalions to clear away those Russian skirmishers that are just in front of them. But otherwise, I think we'll be pretty swiftly on to normal movement. I'll come back once we've moved. So on the left flank, the French have pushed forward. Their second-rate battalions are pushing up on the left, but they are threatened by these Prussian guns on the other side of the river. The 3 conscript battalions have deployed their engineers to the fore. So these are the divisional engineering company. So that's attached to that battalion. That will give them a benefit if they assault the buildings. I give it a +1 to building assaults if you've got engineers attached. That's just a house rule, but one I think that adds a fair bit of flavour. These other battalions have moved up to threaten the Russian left flank here. The Russians here are a bit compressed. They've got lots of artillery, but not a lot of room to deploy their infantry. So some tactical conundrums here for the Russians. They deployed that battalion in line, and also obviously we pushed the French skirmish screen forward. In the centre, still we're avoiding doing a direct assault on the village, and the French on the right flank continue to advance. All 6 battalions have moved up. We've pushed the skirmisher screen up towards the guns. The Russians in response have deployed all of their infantry battalions in line, so lots of firepower here. So a tough ask for the French on the right, but we'll see how this looks after we've done the turns firing. French to go first. Okay, so we've just done our off-board French artillery, and we've caused a couple of casualties against this infantry battalion that's occupying the outskirts of the village. We're now going to open fire with the French skirmisher screen. We've got 6 bases here, so that gives us 4 dice, and we're going to have a go at that Russian artillery battery. Let's try and reduce its effectiveness. So we get 2 6s, which will be a discipline test, and a 4 and a 3. There's a 4 and a 3. We need 5s or 6s to cause casualties. So that's 2 casualties on the Russian artillery battery. That takes them up to how many, Dan?
3.
3. Okay, so no penalty, but it is a discipline test on that battery. So if you could roll 2d6, you need a 7 or more to stay formed. Okay, you've rolled an 11, so they are absolutely fine. Otherwise, I don't think these French columns are going to fire. They won't be particularly effective given that they're moving. Yeah, we might fire this column. We are going to fire this column with the engineers against that Jaeger battalion that we caused a couple of artillery casualties on. So this will be a standard volley.
Have they moved?
But we've moved,
And there are columns that we half
and there are
effect
more
and
columns, so it'll be an inferior volley at half effect. We'll still have a go. We rolled a 5. That was pretty atrocious. So an inferior volley 5 is a loss of fire discipline, which they are recruits, so unfortunately this battalion has lost fire discipline, which will immobilise it next turn. So that really was a big mistake. All right, and we'll now move across to the French on this flank. We'll do the same thing. We'll fire our skirmish screen, 4 dice again, against the Russian guns, and see what we do. We caused 2 casualties again, no discipline this time, but 2 casualties on the Russian guns. That's it for French firing. Now we see some potentially devastating volleys by the Russians in return. Okay, so the Prussian gun battery on the other side of the stream is opening fire here. What's the range, Dan? Just check, see if it's in effective range. That would be less than 24 inches.
Yeah, but it's only 14.
Actually, it's less than 30 inches. So you're in effective range because they're heavy guns. And let's see what we get. Effective range, and you got a 9, it's -1 because you're firing through all of that cover, but that's still 2 casualties on that French battalion. Charlie, could you get a casualty marker and pop 2 casualties on that French battalion, please? Yeah, 2 casualties from that artillery fire. All right, now we're going to open fire with this Russian battalion. How many casualties has it taken, Dan?
3.
3, okay, so no reduction in its firepower yet. This will be at close range, firing at this French battalion. Let's see what we do. Not so good this time, but it's still close range. So close range 6 is 2 casualties. Could I have a couple more casualty markers, please, Dan? Because we're firing through a skirmish screen, we take the first casualty against the skirmish screen. It's not an effective skirmish screen because it's not 3 inches in advance. So it takes the first one, and the second one, that was 2 casualty markers, please, Charlie.
Okay.
And the second one will go against the main battalion. Then let's roll some bounce through, Dan. Yeah. Actually, it's canister, so you don't get bounce through because you fire canister at close range. All right, you've got your skirmishers there. You can fire up my skirmishers if you like, Dan. How many have you got in that unit? Is there 4 bases?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 3 dice normally, down to 2 because you're firing at skirmishers. So you need 5s or 6s with 2 dice. Pretty good. You cause another casualty on this same skirmisher screen. So take that up to 2. Then you've got, you can fire with this battalion here against the unit that suffered fire discipline. So this will be a standard volley. You didn't deploy this turn, did you?
No.
And you are, how many casualties? 2, is
2.
it? But you're a line battalion, so this will be a standard volley. Let's see what we get.
Not superior.
Not superior, not for Russians. You're not veterans. 7. That's still pretty good. That's 2 casualties against the French. All right. Thank you very much. Garrison, that'll be 3 dice, needing 5s or 6s, going at this battalion here. No casualties. All right. Then the next Russian infantry battalion. What are you going to fire at them? Okay, so I think if it's going to fire, it'll be...
I wanted to get the smoke on talking to you.
Ah, thanks, Sally. An inferior volley, partly because you moved, because you deployed, and you can only half see the target. So I think it'll be an inferior volley at half effect, we'll say, because it's... Well, or we take the first casualty against the skirmish screen. Let's do that. Inferior volley, and we'll take the first casualty against the skirmish screen.
Okay, man. There's just not enough room to roll.
Okay. That's an 8. That's pretty good. That's 2 casualties. So that's 1 on the main line battalion. Takes it up to 4. So it will now count as conscripts. And 1 on the first one goes on its skirmish screen. Okay, then the guns. Okay, so this will be another close range fire, firing canister through the skirmish screen, going against the battalion, probably in the middle that's opposite it. All right, let's see what we get.
12s, please.
Well, he said 12s, please, and he got an 11. So pretty good firing there, Dan. Close range, and 11 is 4 casualties and a discipline test. So we take the first one on the skirmish screen, so that goes to 2. And then we put 3 casualties on the infantry battalion. That's pretty effective. And then a discipline test for the French. They roll a 6. That means they go unformed in front of the guns. Not a great place to be, unformed. All right. And then finally, your final Russian battalion. What are you going to fire at?
Everything at that one.
Okay, you can fire at them. There's no skirmish screen, so that will be an inferior volley. 2 dice. Roll away.
Does an 11 not count for that special thing?
No, you need a 12. Just chuck it down there.
I don't think there's enough room down there, otherwise I hit the figures.
Oh, don't worry about that. It's only plastic dice.
6.
6. And this is an inferior volley. Is 1 casualty against that French battalion on the right. All right. That's it for firing backwards. Right. So that's the end of turn 5. So the French attack here will go in next turn, but there has been quite a lot of damage caused by the Russian infantry battalions, and they'll be firing standard volleys next turn because they will have deployed. Over here, effective firing by the the Prussian and Russian artillery against these attacking French columns. Is it enough to slow them down? Let's see what happens as we roll for ADCs in turn 6. 4 dice each. Let's see what we get. Wow, so the French do pretty well. They get 4 ADCs and 2 bonus ADCs for rolling 3 6s. So they've got 6 ADCs. And then Dan, let's see what you get.
Okay, 2.
3.
Bonus one as well.
You got 2 6s, yeah?
No, 1 6.
No, you need 2 6s to get the bonus one. But you've got 3. All right, we'll allocate those ADCs and decide what we do. All right, so we've deployed artillery assault on the Prussian guns. And we need to, we'll see how they do in this turn. We've put a reroll on this French brigade. Let's see if they go active. They do. So they're active with infantry assault. We've put a forwards order and a reroll on my Italian brigade, which is going to come in on the centre. It needs its reroll. It goes active, so the Italians can come on the board with their forwards order. And over here we've put glory on my ADC, which will help if we get into hand-to-hand combat with a reroll. So we've got glory off and this brigade is active. So all the French are active. Let's roll for Prussian activation. So the right-hand Prussian brigade.
Inactive.
Did you put a reroll?
Reroll because I had artillery assault.
Yeah, because you had 3, didn't you?
Active.
Yeah, it's active and you've got artillery assault off. And then the other brigade is active. Okay, let's roll for initiative. Straight roll off. We've got a 12, and we had initiative last turn, so there's no way that the Russians can do it. The French assault continues to go in. So with the amount of artillery on the table, the French are really concerned they're going to get hammered by this Russian artillery positions, so they're going in fast. So on the left flank, this battalion has got nothing in charge range, but this battalion was able to charge into the Russian battalion that deployed last turn. So it has charged, and it has got this support here. In the centre, this looks a lot less likely to go in, but we have charged the guns with this fairly healthy French battalion supported by its quite damaged colleagues. These ones foolishly have to stay here because they lost fire discipline this turn, and they won't be able to move till they recover from that at the beginning of next turn. So we've got 2 charges going in, one against the guns and one against the Russian line. Over on this side, again, a similar action. So the left-hand element of this French brigade has charged this Russian line. The skirmishers have stayed in place, and they're going to exchange musketry with this Russian battalion, given that we are unformed down here, so we wouldn't have supports to go in. But at the right-hand end of the line, we've got another French charge going in. So let's do some defensive fire and charge results as we see how these charges go as we start turn. So first assault here is this French battalion charging in against this Russian line battalion. I think it'll have to be an inferior volley, because half of the battalion would have to volley into the back of its own artillery battery, which would be a bit unfair on those gunners. So this will be half the battalion firing. 2d6 Dan, let's see how we do. Pretty good. He got a 6. I thought it was going to be a double 6, but not just a 9. So pretty good from an inferior volley. That's 2 casualties and a discipline test. So I'll do the discipline test. They haven't taken any casualties yet. So they do pass their discipline test, but that will impact the charge results. Let's do the charge as these guys try. Right, so this will be a charge result -1 to the French because we took 2 casualties as we charged in. We roll a 6. The Russians roll an 8. Okay, we will have our support, so we will re-roll the 6 to a 5. You can choose to re-roll one of your dice because you do have a support. You could commit to the artillery battery or the infantry battalion. But given that you've already got an 8, I wouldn't bother. So it's a -3, so I take a casualty and I have to retire. The French are thrown back by that stoic Russian battalion. Okay, so the French are praying for a double 1 here as we have another close range fire from the Russian artillery as this French battalion tries to charge home. Let's see what we get as we roll for the Russian fire. Okay, a 5 could be better. So at close range, that's just 1 casualty on that French battalion, but it does take them up to 4 casualties. So that will be -1 on their charge result. Okay, so let's roll the charge results. It'll be -1 on the French. Let's roll down.
Supporting fire from anywhere?
I don't think so, because you haven't got anything within 3 inches of the artillery. So you will get supporting fire over here. Yeah, but you can't. You can shoot through your own men if you like. You have to volley the artillery crew first, and then you can come through. Yes,
Tsar Nicholas's finest.
indeed. So no, you don't. So this will be -1 to the French. French roll a 7. Whoa! The Russians roll a 3. The Russians do have a re-roll, definitely, because they have the infantry battalion in support. That's a 4. And actually thinking about it, I don't think non-like units can support one another. So you can get defensive fire support from a battery, but you can't actually get a re-roll. So you're on a 3. I will re-roll my 1, because I do have a support. That takes me on to a 9 against a 3. We have won by 6.
I got 4.
No, because you, as I was explaining on camera, you can only support like units. Infantry can support infantry, cavalry can support cavalry. Infantry can't support guns. You can get supporting fire.
They can.
But you can't. I checked the rules and realised I was getting it wrong last time I checked in the rules, and you can't support non-like units. So that is a win by 6. So we get a victory. So that's artillery battery is overrun and dispersed, and I get to charge on into another target. I'm not 100% sure about this one. So we've charged in against another Russian infantry battalion, so charged on, And I presume they get to do another defensive volley, even though they've done one this turn. So we will do that. So Dan, defensive volley. How many casualties have you taken? You've just taken 2. So this will be a standard volley. You rolled an 8.
Yeah.
So that's 3 casualties against the French. That takes them up to 7. And you can get a supporting volley. It will be at half effect, but it will be a standard volley from the battalion next to you. Wow, that's pretty good. That's a 9 as a standard volley, is 3 casualties in a discipline test. That makes it a, you round that down to 1, but it's still a discipline test, and it's a discipline test at -2. Actually, the French pass it, but they have taken, how many is that? Is that 4 casualties in total this turn, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, so this will not be a great charge result. So they haven't gone unformed, but it'll be at least -3, I think, on the French. Okay, so looking much tougher for the French this time. -4 for the French this time. Both of us have re-rolls. Well, the French do well. They roll a 10. And Dan's up to his old tricks. He rolls a 6. So on a -4, that's 6/6. I'm not going to re-roll. Dan is going to trust it to luck. He's going to re-roll his 2. And he gets a 3. Okay, so still pretty good. So the Russians win by 1. So I stop and I let loose a ragged volley. I only get 1d6, 4, 5 or 6. So I cause 1 casualty against the Russians and stop in front of their line. Okay, so moving across to the right flank, we've got another defensive volley here as opens up with these Russians. How many casualties have they taken? They've taken none, and they are a blue unit. So this will be a standard volley at standard effect. Let's see what we get. Roll 2d6 then. Okay, we roll a 7. Standard volley is 2 casualties on the French. And we'll put a 2 there so we remember. Okay, you can probably do a supporting fire from your garrison as well. So 3d6, 3 dice, needing 5s or 6s. That's 2 more, so that's 4 casualties. That is not looking good. So up to 8. And you can fire your artillery at the supporting infantry battalion, probably.
Not that one.
I don't think they are in their arc of fire, but they're part of the attack.
Been at the start of the charge.
Okay, yeah, all right. Well, you stop them, you fire at 3 inches away. So if we put them 3 inches away, if they're in their arc of fire. Actually, I have to average the casualties against both of these units anyway, so it doesn't matter. So fire your guns. It will be a short-range artillery shot. A 3, you take a fatigue casualty on your guns.
Maybe best to do the bolts test before.
All right, and actually what happens is, of those 4 casualties I've taken, you have to put the majority, which in this case would be 3, on the lead battalion, and the balance on any supports. So the lead battalion is actually on 7 and has taken 3 casualties, and the support has taken 1. All right, I think that's all the firing. Let's do the charge results. All right, let's see if the French can do well this time again. Have we got some more famous Dan dice rolling? The French are on -2. Not quite so good this time. We roll a 7.
We roll a 7.
And we roll a 7. Both of us have got support, so I'm going to re-roll my 2 to a 6. So I'm on an 11. You do have a rear support you can commit. You need to decide which one you're committing your rear support to.
You've only won by 4.
Yeah.
If
So
I
I'm
roll
on-
any out of the 3, you could win by 5, which is enough to wipe out the unit, isn't it?
No, it's a 6. I need to cause you to round. I think you retreat on a 5 or retire, something like that.
Does
Yeah,
these
you
count as
retreat.
support?
No, the garrison can't.
Which would you, Chungus,
Mm-hmm.
which would you apply that one, support to? That one or that one? Bear in mind he's already at 11 versus my 7. I might just take a -4
Because remember, I'm already on -4, so 11 goes down to 7. So you're on 7, so it's actually a draw.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it.
If it's a draw, you might as well roll to get a win. 'Cause it'll be
No,
draw
it's
back
not.
then.
It's not really worth it, because if he takes it
Because
to
I
a
might
-3
use
or a
one there.
-5, I might retire, but I'll only take 1 casualty. All right, so I stop and I volley, and I don't cause a casualty, so I come up short. All right, and then we've got the final assault over here. So another defensive volley. Dan, you got no casualties.
No.
So standard volley.
7.
Okay, and a 7 was 2 casualties, wasn't it? I think. Standard volley 7 is 2 casualties. So that takes me up to 3. So that'll simply be a -1 on me, but you're on a +1 because you've got your commander. I have no commander. I have a reroll and you have a reroll. So I am on, what did I say, minus? How many casualties did you cause, Dan? You caused 2, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm on -1.
-2 you're on. I've got a general.
Oh yeah, that's right. So I'm on 8, so I go down to 7. You get +1 technically.
I'm on 5.
You go up to 6, but you can re-roll the 1. To a 2. He goes to a 7. I'm on a 7, so it'll actually be the same result. I stop and volley and don't cause a casualty. So the French attacks come to a halt.
It's been so terrible. Charges are all going. Every single one I've rolled terribly low.
Okay, so that's it for charges. There were no charges for the Russians. It'll now be French artillery and musketry to fire. Okay, so Dan's moved his skirmisher screen up and just caused a couple of casualties against this unit. And he rolled a double 6, so they had to take a discipline test. And they've gone unformed. He's now going to open fire with his Prussian artillery battery, see if he can knock this unit out. Okay, Dan, let's see how you do. You roll an 8. That's going to be at effective range. That's 2 casualties. That takes them up to 12. And actually, I think with the 2 casualties from the skirmisher fire, probably because they are conscripts. So I think they would have gone on a 10. So you can put those 2 casualties actually against this unit over here, if you like, Dan.
Is it worth shooting at that one just because it might bounce through for 2?
Well, you'll only cause 1 casualty at most on that one because you only get 1 bounce through. And you cause 2 in reality. So yeah, pop a couple on that one. That's better. So that will be a falter test on me, and that unit is destroyed. Okay, just about to start turn 7. The French attack is still in position here, but the Russian lines are holding, and over on this flank, both sides have got a falter test. We've driven off the Russian artillery battery and overrun it, but lost a battalion in doing so. So we'll now roll for ADCs, see what we get, and see how we do against our falter tests. Okay, so for our falter tests, the French rolled a 6, so their brigade stays in place, but with the loss of the artillery battery, the Russians are disheartened and have taken a retire order. So you don't have any retreating or routed units. If you're in a strong point, you don't have to move. So those 2 battalions, I'll say, don't have to go back. All close order units lose 1 casualty. You lose 1 skirmisher base. And you retire. And because you have to retire across the river, you have to take 1d6 casualties. A retire is 12 inches. All right, we'll just mark those up. Somewhat ridiculously, the French have retained initiative despite rolling a double 1 because Dan managed to have 2 faltering brigades. So the French get to decide whether to charge first this turn. Okay, so the French continuing to put pressure on their right flank as all units have charged in against the French gun and Prussian. Get it right in a second, Allied gun line. And over here, this element of the French brigade has charged in to the village, see whether they can disrupt this Russian line. All right, let's do charges. Defensive fire by Dan. Okay, so a great roll by the Russians. They've done 11 with a standard volley. That's 4 casualties in a discipline test. That will go down by 1 because they have already taken 6 casualties. So 11 is a 10, but that's still 4 casualties and a discipline test. So that takes them up to 7. So it'll be a discipline test at -1 for the French. They roll a 4, that goes down to a 3. They retreat. They will retreat off table, and Dan throws back this assault. Right, another standard volley as the Russians again try and throw back a second French attacking column.
8.
An 8 for a standard volley is 3 casualties. So that takes them up to 4. Which would be -1 for being at 4 casualties. and taking 3 casualties in a turn on a charge is another -2. So the French will be on -3, but with a reroll. Which way, where are you going to allocate your support to this time, Dan? You have to do it before the charge is going. That same one. Okay. So this is -3, but I do have a general. Where are you going to allocate your general as well? I'm allocating my general to this one.
Probably that one.
As well. Okay. So it'll stay at -3 net. All right, let's see how the French do. The French roll a 9. We've done well in these charge results. Okay, so you roll a 7, so a 9 goes down to a 6. So that is a -1, so I will stop and volley. You content with that, or are you going to go for a reroll, Dan?
No, I'm fine. I can reroll because my rerolls are assigned to the other unit.
That's true. So at -1, I stop and volley. And I don't cause any casualties. It's just as is every time. All right, and we'll now try against the guns. Again at close range, they're on -5, so this will be at -1, Dan. Because they've taken 5 casualties. And you roll a 5. A 5 for a battery at close range is 1 casualty on the attacking French. So this will simply be an attack at -1 by the French.
Do I not get passing fire from these ones?
Not for the artillery battery. You probably would have against that battalion, but the result's fine. We'll just leave it.
I'll use it.
You can use it as just normal shooting in the shooting phase and be just as effective. All right, here, so -1 for the French. Wow, we roll a double 6. That'll be a destiny test. Dan is despairing. The gods are with the French today. Oh, he rolls a 10. That's not too bad. So I've only won by 1, which won't be enough to do a breakthrough, I don't think. I will melee with a land. So we have our first melee of the game as this battalion goes into melee with the gun crews. Let's do the destiny test. We roll a 6 on the destiny test. We recover 1 casualty, so we go back down to 3 casualties from the impetus of the charge. Okay, and then finally over here, another defensive volley by Dan as he tries to stop the next French attack going in. He rolls a 7. That's pretty good. Standard volley is 2 casualties against the attacking French battalion. Okay, so that'll be a -1 on the French. Dan's got a reroll on this one, as have the French. French roll an 8. Dan rolls an 8. You going to reroll anything, Dan?
Are you going to reroll anything?
No, not on an 8.
No, I'm fine.
All right, so it's a draw. It was. Oh no, I'm on -1, aren't I? So I'm on a 7. You're on an 8, aren't you, Dan?
Yeah.
So that's a -1. So again, I stop and volley, and finally, I cause a casualty. 1 casualty on the Russians. All right. So just 1 melee to do there. That's it for charges. We'll now do normal movement in turns. Right. Now let's roll for this hand-to-hand combat. I only cause 2 casualties. There is a chance for the artillery.
Come on.
No, they only cause 1. So the infantry versus infantry. I take the ground. The loser retreats. Retreating artillery disperses. So that artillery battery also goes. Okay, so tough rolls for the Allies now. So Dan rolled 3 ADCs. We've got a faltering brigade actually in the centre here, and this brigade is also faltering, both because they lost their artillery batteries. Let's see how we do. Dan, where do you want to start? Rolling for which brigade? All right, so I've got a reroll on this one. Let's see how we do. And we got a 3, so they will be retiring. So second one, a 5. That is a lot better. Thank God we put a reroll on those ones. So on a 5, they obey orders, so they can carry on fighting. The other brigade that's currently faltering, and let's see how we do on this one. 1 dice roll. He's going to get a 6. We know it's going to be a 6. It's a 4. That actually is a rally on a 4. Retreating successfully in rallies.
He won't lose his units because you step back within 9.
Everything, including retreating units, remove the falter marker, goes hesitant. If you're within 9 inches, which you're not of me, you have to step back. Artillery withdraws, and that's it. Yep, that's it. So they are hesitant, but so they can't reform this turn, but they could oh no, they can reform this turn because they are. And it's hoping this is a switch in the game. So the right and left flank for the French have both gone hesitant. Perhaps just wondering where all the Russians have gone. However, they are active and have got infantry assault against the newly arrived Italian brigade. But as I say, Russians have got initiative, so we'll see if they've got any charges as we move into the start of turn 8. Okay, so my Italians and Swiss have charged in against these Jaegers who've proved so resilient during the game. Actually, it's only a 5, Dan, because they've already got 6 casualties. But that's still 1 casualty from that volley. All right, so it caused 1 casualty on the Swiss who are attacking. Let's do the charge results as we charge in against that line. So we're veterans, so that's +1. We're going to put our commander in, who seems to have gone missing. Here he is. Missing in action. We're putting my commander in. We're both putting commanders in, so that is still +1 to me. I think that's it. All right, I'm supported, you're not supported. Let's see how we do. We roll a 9. You roll a 7. A 9 becomes a 10 against a 7. We win by 3. So you retreat and take 1d3 casualties. So you don't have a support. So roll 1d6 then. Right, so we just finished turn 8. There was some exchange of skirmisher fire down here. The Prussians fired their artillery across the river and caused this battalion to fail its discipline test, and it's retreated. The Swiss have charged into the Jaegers that were guarding the edge of the village and broken them and are in a potential position to assault the village next turn. Down here, it's pretty much stalemate, and the Russian battalions caused heavy casualties on the French, letting their volleys ripple through the French lines in turn 8. All right, now let's roll for ADCs and activation for turn 9. All right, okay, so here on the right flank, the French brigade has again charged in against the Russians with support. On the left, however, the Russians have taken the offensive, and they're going to have a charge against this unformed French column in front of them. And over in the centre, the Swiss are charging into the village to try and capture the village, see if they can achieve that victory objective for the French. All right, let's start with the Russian charge first, as that's the first one. So we've got a defensive volley by the Russian regulars. Let's see how they do.
9.
Wow, pretty good. A 9 for a standard volley is 3 casualties and a discipline test. How many are they on now, Charlie?
8. So that's a minus
So
2.
discipline test at -2. They go unformed, unfortunately, but they will go into charge phase. All right, now let's work out this charge.
There's minus 2 for casualties in charge.
And -2 for cumulative casualties, and
And
+1 for my
And
general.
minus
And you're
2
unformed.
because you're
All right,
unformed.
yeah, that's true. So it's -5. Oh my gosh. Were you hesitant then?
No.
Okay.
What does...
Well, we roll a 7. You roll a 10. Okay, so we're not going to re-roll that. We don't think we can win. We're going to be pushed back. So the French did take their re-roll and reduced that loss to a -5, which meant it was a retire rather than a retreat result, which saves them getting a falter. And they had 2 re-rolls, so they were going to do that. All right, we'll now do a defensive volley. This will be at -2 and half effect as we are unformed. So we roll a 5. That'll be a loss of fire discipline, so it won't achieve anything. Let's roll as the Russian line crashes in to this unformed French column. Okay, so on this charge, -4 to the French again. This is not a good turn for this brigade. We roll a 7. The Russians roll a double 1. We're going to re-roll the 3. We stay at a 7. Dan and Charlie have now collapsed to the floor after that truly terrible result. So what was your modifier? It was -4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So actually, I still won. I still won despite having a -4 modifier and only rolling 7. So you do stop and you can volley. So you get to roll 3d6 because you are a line. So 3d6 as you volley me. And you cause 1 casualty.
That's
Okay, so although the French, with their redoubtable volley from their unformed column, held off the Russians, when the Russians stopped and came to a halt and returned fire, their volley caused 2 casualties on that French column. It was already on 8. It's second-rate troops, so it counts as conscripts once it's over 4 casualties, so it will break on 10. So that column unfortunately has broken. The French attack really is in pieces now on this flank, and there will be a fault test on this right-hand French brigade at the end of this turn. The Russians have thrown it back. All right, I think that's it for charges. It'll now be normal firing. I think the French have initiative, don't they, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the French charges that went in first. So French artillery. So we just completed firing down here. Dan's battalion and my column exchanged some relatively ineffective fire, both of them having moved, as did the skirmishers down here. Dan's artillery opened up and caused a couple of casualties on this battalion on the left of this French formation. Final action of the turn will be the close assault into the village. So we both start with 5 dice. Have you got 5 dice, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay, I lose 1 for going into a built-up area, but gain 1 for being veterans. You've got how many casualties, Dan? Just 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both on 5 dice. Let's see how we do. We want 4 5s or 6s. I get 2, you get none. So, oh my gosh, Dan's run of luck continues. Infantry versus built-up area. The defender retreats and the Swiss take the village. Right, so we're approaching turn 10, only a couple more turns to go. The French are moving up to fully occupy the village. The Swiss are already in there, and we have a Jaeger regiment that's just been pushed out. On this flank, the Russians look very strong, and this French attack here has pretty much petered away and probably will go nowhere. But the Russians probably don't have the ability to retake the village because there's enough French forces here to pin them. But we'll see how it goes as we move into turn 10. Just filming the Falter test for my right flank. Let's see whether this Russian line has blown the French away. No, the French are very lucky again. That's 2 Falter tests in this game, 1-5, 1-6. They obey orders, and this flank holds. Glorious moment. I thought I'd won the game as the French down here went charging into the flank of this Jaeger column. And then I reminded myself, unfortunately, this brigade went hesitant, so they can't move at all. So, unfortunately, I can't disrupt this Prussian counterattack. We're going to have one final go. As this brigade obeyed orders, it is able to do charges. So we've just gone in with this relatively healthy battalion. See if they can go into these Russians who have, after all, taken 6 casualties. Let's see whether the Russians, as much as Dan has decried his terrible dice rolls, he has done well with the firing out of this Russian brigade on the right. Let's see how we do as they do another defensive volley. This will be at -1 standard volley against this attacking French column. 7. I've got a feeling you get a combat dice for firing at columns, which we've been forgetting to do all game. So roll a blue dice as well, Dan, or roll another dice. See if you get a 4, 5 or 6 on that one. You do. So we get an extra casualty. So apologies to everyone. We've been completely forgetting that. That's my fault. And this was a standard volley with a 7. So that's 3 casualties on this French column. This attack's not going to go in either. So three casualties in the turn will be -3 on the French. We are going to throw our commander in. So that takes it down to -2. Are you going to put your commander in, Dan? Yeah. So you're going to be on neutral because you're -1 for your casualties, +1 for your commanders. So that'll be -2 for the French. Russians actually have 2 rerolls. The French only have 1. But Dan will curse me. Oh, no, he won't curse me. I've rolled a 10, but Dan has rolled an 11. So Dan has won by 3. Are you going to do a reroll, Dan, on an 11?
No. I
No.
only had 1 reroll though.
Sorry?
I only have 1 reroll.
No, you get 1 for each flank. They're in. Oh, right. They're in advance actually, so they're probably not our flank support. So you won that one by 3. You take the ground, and I retreat with 1d3 casualties. All right. I'll move that unit back. Yeah, it takes 2 extra casualties. So the Russians on this flank continue to drive the French back. The Russians charged the French skirmishers. They passed their discipline test but fell back in front of them. We've done normal movement, so the French now squarely occupy the village. The troops inside the village are formed up. Otherwise, not much movement here, but we have deployed the Italian horse artillery, which will have a bob in due course against these skirmishers that are standing right in front of it. And then provide some fire support for my rapidly weakening right flank and hopefully help hold it off. All right, that's it for movement, and the Russian Jaegers have also formed up. So I think that's it for movement. Now for firing.
I've got my movement to do.
Oh, have you not done your movement? Oh, sorry, Dan. All right, normal movement for Dan. Okay, lots of random bits and bobs of firing. Dan's last artillery battery again had a go at these French infantry battalions. They are now taking quite a lot of casualties. We've got 4, 6, 6 and 8. So it won't be long before those battalions start collapsing because they only need to take 10 casualties because they're all second rate. The Italian brigade in the centre is very strong, and my brigade on the right is collapsing. So I think the dilemma for Dan is I've captured the village and I've got my best brigade in it, but he does look like he's about to collapse both of my two flanks. So it's really quite a close game. That's it for turn 10, and now we move on to initiative and ADCs. For the French, I put a re-roll on this brigade to try and allow it to charge the Jaegers in the flank again, but unfortunately we've gone hesitant again. So despite having a re-roll, we'd rolled a 1 and then a 2, so they are inactive. My Swiss and Italians are active, so that's good news. And then finally I've got to roll my faltering brigade test, having lost another battalion from this brigade on the right. Our first roll is a 5. Again, that's good. They will obey orders. They stay in the fight for another turn. All right, Dan, let's see your activations. Your right-hand brigade, basically, is active, and then your left-hand brigade is active. Okay, let's roll for initiative. -1 on the French. We roll a 3. You roll a 4, and it's -1 on the French. So yeah, I'm a 4 down to a 3. You're on a 4. So the Russians have initiative. They get not to be hammered, and the Jaegers get a chance to charge in. Right, so the French have formed a more defensive position here. Their lines forming up as they try and face off against this attacking Russian advance. I think the concern to the Russians is the Italians are now starting to sweep through this village, potentially outflanking this Russian position, so they'll have to withdraw their line a bit. The French artillery feels threatened by this Russian skirmish screen that's appeared down here. That one probably will have to pull back next turn to stay in contact with its brigade, but we'll see what its brigade does. I'm being hesitant over here. Nothing much has happened on this part of the battlefield. All right, that's it for movement. It'll be now shooting for the Russians. Another wonderful roll. Another wonderful roll of dad luck. I've rolled the second or third double 6 of the game. And did a very, very powerful inferior volley from this. Caused 4 casualties on this Russian unit that were facing it, which very fortunately was the only damaged Russian unit of these 3, really. Took it up to 11 casualties. Dan rolled 5, didn't you, I think, on his discipline test, and at -2, they then have to retreat and take 1d3. So there'll be a discipline, sort of falter test on the Russian brigade here, and they've lost one of the 3 battalions. So that's it for French firing. It'll be then Russian firing, and then we'll do the combat in the village. All right, let's see it. The Jaegers are trying to kick the Swiss out the village. Let's see how many casualties the Swiss cause. They cause 3. Let's see how many the Jaegers cause. They cause 1. The Swiss win by 2. The Jaegers are thrown back, and that Jaeger battalion is destroyed. Dan, great game. I think there was a fair degree of dad luck involved. I think on every falter test, as Dan pointed out, I rolled a 5 or a 6. And on every falter test Dan rolled, you rolled a
3 or lower.
A 3 or lower, indeed. So we just did the ADC activations for turn 12. Dan got 3 ADCs. He allocated 2 to the critical brigades holding the bridge, and 1 to this brigade over here. For the two ADC rolls for the brigade holding the bridge, he rolled a 1 and a 2. So unfortunately, that brigade Savoie-Qui-Pers and French control the village and have swept the bridge clean. And then for the Russian brigade that's holding this flank, they rolled a 3, which is a retire result. So they would have fled over the stream, having lost that middle battalion that you can see of the 3 here. So actually, a really, really close game. This French brigade on the right flank is pretty much exhausted. 8 casualties, 9 casualties, 3 casualties, and none. So two healthy battalions, but 2 pretty much destroyed and 2 already destroyed. So only a third of its combat power left. But these, as I say, these Russians retreating in front of them. The Italians, who came on late in the game, with the Swiss and captured the village, have thrown back this Jaeger assault and effectively won the game for the French. And this other French brigade, also on the point to collapse, being hesitant for 3 turns in front of the artillery is not good. 8, 4, 9 and 6 casualties on these 3 battalions. So only a couple with a marginal amount of combat power. And remember also this was a 6 battalion formation, so also not in great shape. The key for the French was their luck in destroying both of the Russian artillery brigades early in the game, which caused a lot of the Russian firepower to diminish and flee off the table. So I think, I hate to say it, Dan, a victory for the French, but a really close run thing. And that concludes our series on the Battle of Lutzen. I hope everyone's enjoyed watching it. Hope you've enjoyed this final game. And do remember, do subscribe, leave us some comments on YouTube, and look forward to seeing you again next time. Cheers everyone. Have a great weekend.